finally, something to talk about, something exciting in MMA.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've heard the news.
I don't know whether it's going to go through or not right now. Like,
Okay.
I know it's kind of been talked about, and all the big personalities, ourselves included, are chatting about it. But
Yes.
I want to know, like, is this happening? Is this not happening? Like, what's
We
the
got to
deal?
let the white belts know our opinion on it first and
Well,
foremost.
they probably want to know what the heck we're even talking about in the first place.
I think that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Do you want to sum it up, or you want?
I think I'll let you do what you do best.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
So the UFC is in talks with ONE FC, which is a Asian-based MMA promotion.
That's where that is?
To trade, yes.
Okay.
Yes, usually in Singapore. I think it's a Singapore-based
Cool.
promotion. But either way, it's one of the largest MMA promotions outside of the UFC or any promotion in North America, really. So it's monumental in that they do have a huge superstar, Ben Askren, that the UFC's always wanted to bring over because he's an undefeated fighter.
Yeah.
And then they have a good fighter in Demetrious Johnson that the UFC has always wanted to get rid of.
Of course, yeah.
A match made in heaven.
Apparently.
Allegedly. So this is what is being talked about. Askren for Demetrious Johnson, contract for contract, switch him over.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I've never seen anything like this happen in the UFC before in my entire
MMA in general, you know. I didn't
know
know it
that
was
you could
possible.
trade contracts, which I hope they do more trades going forward.
Yeah.
If we're bringing it back to this trade, I'm kind of torn, to be honest with you, because I can understand the business reasons for why they're making the trade.
Right.
And so the businessman in me says, okay, I understand. You know what I mean? Demetrious doesn't really move the needle as far as pay-per-views.
Right.
Maybe let's get someone who can potentially move the needle for pay-per-views, especially because, I mean, Ben Askren, I don't know a lot about him, but I do know that he has a big mouth.
Yes, very big mouth. He's talked the talk a lot.
Yeah.
And he's walked the walk.
He said he was the best pound-for-pound fighter at that weight. Or
at one
weight
point in
class?
time, he's always been fought at welterweight.
Okay.
And GSP was considered obviously the best pound-for-pound fighter in the 2008, 2009, 2010. But Askren was tearing up the scene in Bellator around the same time. Undefeated fighter, beating guys like Koreshkov, Jay Huron, and just smashing people.
So you think he had a rightful claim to the pound-for-pound?
I think at that point in time, if he wasn't number one, he was number two.
Okay.
Because when GSP was fighting guys like Dan Hardy and Thiago Alves and Josh Koscheck, you could have slated in Ben Askren and put him in that spot.
Done the same,
And he would have, and John Finch and all these guys that GSP fought that were the number two fighter. You can make an argument for Ben Askren.
So exactly, like, this guy's a good fighter. I get why they want him, and we want to see how he kind of holds up or stacks up against some of the UFC competition.
Yes.
And then maybe because he's such a big personality, he can actually sell some pay-per-views, and they do it that way. It breaks my heart because we're talking about literally one of the best fighters in the world.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, you kind of just kick him to the curb. Like, yes, it's a business, but it's also a sport, you know what I mean? And I think that's the funny thing that's happening in the UFC right now, where, like, sometimes it feels more sport.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels more promotion or, like, entertainment.
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, for the entertainment reasons, I get why Demetrious might have to go, but it kind of sucks, man.
Yeah, I think this is an anomaly, to be honest. I don't think we're going to be talking about this too much in MMA.
Yeah.
The only reason this is actually working is because it benefits all four parties, which is very rare.
True.
So I don't think a trade will ever really go through unless it'll benefit four parties. Because DJ wants to leave the UFC. He's already proven what he needed to prove here. Matt Hume has partnership or stake in ONE FC, which is his head trainer. So it doesn't hurt for him to go over there. Plus, Asia's known for some of the best lighter weight fighters around the world. Build your brand that way because your North American brand is already built, and that's besides Twitch, nobody really cares, you know.
And to that point, I mean, maybe he leaves, does very well over there, and then you have a chance to come back, and then that's actually exciting again. Right. The return of Demetrious, right? So.
But after 11 title defenses, you lose your belt. Do you really have that motivation to go back and win that again?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if you do. Askren as well. He's already on Twitter talking a lot of smack to some of the guys in the welterweight division.
Yeah.
Talking to Colby. Talking to Darren Till. Do you want to go on a losing streak?
Yeah.
So
I saw he was talking to Masvidal as well. Actually. For game bread.
Exactly.
I like that. You know what I mean? Already I'm hyped. Whatever matchup they put him up against, I'm going to be watching. Right. I don't know what they're going to do. Do you think he gets like a title shot right off the bat, or you think they're going to kind of like...
No. That division's too deep. I think Masvidal's a good fight for him.
I like that.
Where Masvidal's not really a title contender at this stage.
I love Jorge too.
And that's a fight that people want to see. So, listen, I'm all for this trade. I don't think it's going to happen often. But if all four parties are happy, then I'm good with it. If the two promoters made that decision for the fighters, That's where I gotta
True.
stand in and
Okay.
say, okay,
Yeah,
slow
that's a good
down. You
point.
shouldn't be
That's a good
trading
point. That's a good point.
human like commodity.
Yeah, and to your point, I think the both fighters probably do want this. I'd love to hear from Demetrious. He's kind of been like super quiet on the whole matter.
Yeah.
But I guess we don't even know if it's official yet. So maybe when it's official, then we'll hear from him.
Yeah.
I get it. Whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah. What do you white belts think? Do you think it's a good idea to trade MMA fighters to different promotions? What do you think about this trade specifically? And who should Ben Askren fight when if he comes to the UFC?
I like that
we gotta know.
Yeah,
I like that one too. Or even Kamaru and him. I mean, you can slice and dice in any way you want, but I don't want to see him against a wrestler for some reason.
Ideally not, yeah. I don't want to, he's on top and the other one's on top. I want to see some hands get thrown at him and then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Give me that.
Oh man, I'm excited. We'll see. We'll talk to you soon. Oops.